guys 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another Freethought in Florida. Freethought in Florida is a production of the Atheist community of Polk County, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I am Sarah Ray. I'll be your host for this episode of Freethought in Florida, and I have a special guest with me today whose name is not appearing on the screen for some dumb reason. But look, it's Jennifer Martinez.
Hi, hello everyone.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You were really excited to do a podcast.
So excited. I've always wanted to do one.
Well, this is unusual for most podcasts.
Yes.
We have a feed issue, and hopefully that will get fixed. But normally podcasts don't happen on video.
No.
Right? It's just an audio medium, but we do this thing on video. So you got like roped into doing a YouTube show and a podcast all in one.
I love it. It's fine.
Okay, so before we get going, just a reminder to you all, you can become a patron at patreon.com/polkatheists, and that's a great way to support the atheist community of Polk County and the show here that we do, and all the things. We're getting ready to wind back up doing some of our in-person community service things. We're actually getting ready to launch a community service initiative that is aimed at hunger in the community experiencing homelessness.
Great.
So your donations help all of that stuff, and we appreciate it very much. So patreon.com/polkatheists if you want to support us through the show. Okay, so let's chat, Jennifer. Let's just for background for folks. We worked together once upon a time. How long ago was that?
Not really. It was like 2014.
It was the worst time in my life,
was
and it had
the worst
nothing
time
to
in
do
my
with
life.
you.
No, you were like the only thing keeping me holding on.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, 2014, and 2014 was not, for like a lot of people, it was just not a good year. Going through a lot.
In the grand time scale of like how bad 2020 is, though.
Right. Nothing like
2014 is not bad at all.
Right. Yeah, 2014 was interesting. We worked together. I loved working with you.
We worked at the Yacht and Beach Club Resort at the Walt Disney. What do you do now?
Unemployed. Hello, 2020.
What were you doing before you were unemployed?
I was a restaurant manager over at the Gaylord Palms here in Orlando.
Okay.
I loved it there. Loved it there. Yeah.
I know a lot of people that work at
Gaylord Palms
like
is super chill, unproblematic, unlike Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would love to go back to work for Gaylord and Marriott. They're good people, as much as corporations can be.
Well, while we're sort of touching that subject, I'll just mention news broke in the last 48 hours that Disney is laying off like
28,000.
28,000.
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah.
I just want to say, like, this isn't my soapbox show.
Right.
We're going to do that one later. But like, just speaking for me personally, this is another example of why I am like so against capitalism.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Because like
people are getting laid off left and right.
It's their bottom line. I feel like if we were embracing some of those, and to me, these are humanist ideals, right?
100%.
The idea that everyone deserves a place to sleep tonight that's dry and warm or cool, depending on where you live. Like, you should have a safe place to shelter every night, and it's not under a freaking bridge, right? You should have a meal before. Those things, I feel like we should all be taking care of each other.
Yeah, but
and if we get to that by creating a tax system and a social program that makes that happen, then that's how we should do it.
There's some people that are shaking right now.
I know. But I feel like we should just be taking care of each other.
100%.
And so now when you look at 28,000 people and many many people we know.
Mhm.
Like I'm seeing
yeah.
posts all day long on my Facebook.
Facebook was like yesterday was and today it's been like just dropping like flies. Everyone that got laid
I
off
got the
today.
call.
I got the call. I got the call.
And that wouldn't be such a big freaking deal, except that now, where do I go to get more money to get the rent paid and to buy my next meal
Well,
and to buy
now-
because most people working in the theme park bubble are already living like at the poverty line to start with.
Yeah. It's crazy. And like I feel like now the job market's gonna be like way more competitive. Like people are gonna have to be doing like any job just to get by. And like it's gonna be crazy soon now with all these people like trying to get a job, especially with unemployment going down now. So
Yeah.
sucks.
So anyway, just let's take care of each other.
Yes, please.
Already, come on. So anyway, we worked together at Disney back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of like I worked at a lot of places in my almost 10 years. I almost made it 10 years.
Mm.
I worked at many places. I started out in the theme parks.
Yeah.
I was a theme park kid. I was an attractions kid, right? That was my gig. I ran the rides, and I loved doing that.
Yeah.
And then I got into and I went to water parks.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I was at the water parks for a little bit, and I loved that. I was in management part of my time there, and that's once you cross the threshold to like salaried leader,
Yeah.
then you like pull the magic curtain back and you get to see that it's just another shitty corporation.
Oh my god.
you know,
yeah.
like, oh look, it's just and they really don't care about me, and it's just
Right.
like
Cog in the machine.
get the numbers.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, I still enjoyed it. And then they sent me off to work at the resorts. I am
What was
not
that
a
for
resort
you?
person.
No.
No.
You didn't like it.
No. Well, and I mean I can tie this into my humanism too. And I even told our what were they called at the time? Our area leader.
Proprietor.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I told her, like straight up told her, I was like, listen, this is hard for me because I come from the theme parks where you're all equal,
Yeah.
right? If you're a guest at the Magic Kingdom, you're my guest. And I don't care if you're a DVC or annual pass holder or staying on club level at some expensive
Club
resort.
level, yeah.
Oh my God.
I know, I just got chills.
I don't care about any of that.
No.
You are everyone is going to get amazing level of guest service
Mhm.
equally.
Yeah, not
It's
at the
an
resort.
egalitarian
it's like
thing.
You literally pay for that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
these people pay extra money to be treated differently.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do
The
that.
VIP list every day,
can't.
coming in, seeing like, oh, who's a VIP today? Levels of VIP.
Oh, I can't do
The
that.
levels.
Nope.
VIP 1, VIP 2, VIP 3.
I can't do it.
No, it wasn't for me. I would not go back.
Anyway,
Mhm.
but
On that
anyway,
note.
what that led to a lot of like, I feel like there's a couple of different environments where it sort of forces people to like relationship build and like
Mhm.
just get through it together.
Yes.
And that was one of them. And so like, oh my God, the conversations that we had out on curbside.
I remember they
and-
would be like, you cannot be talking about this. And we'd be like, what? We're going to
What?
talk about
What
this.
do you mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know that these deep religious topics ever
No.
really came up.
Well, I think at that time.
Because that's one thing you don't do. You don't talk
Right,
about religion at work.
But yeah. But I was still a completely different person then. Like my
Yeah, me
answers
too.
now would be different
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Okay. So let's just dig into it then.
Mhm.
Talk about your religious upbringing. Were you raised religious, and
Yes.
what did that look like?
Right. So I was raised Catholic.
I'm sorry.
Yes. So I was born. I was born in Miami, Florida. My parents are from Venezuela.
Mhm.
So they were also Catholic. They are Catholic. My mom went to a Catholic school. My dad, same. So they were just like upbringing me and my brother just like they were brung up. And I was going to church all the time till I was about like 21 or 22. I was in youth group. I was a youth group leader in college. Basically, like my grandma was the one also who was like huge in the church. Like everyone in my church still in Miami knows my grandma. She's still really big in the church. My dad went to like please my mom for a long time. And I think it wasn't until my brother and I moved out that he probably just wanted to get closer to my mom. And like now they're both like really in the church, but I'm 29. I haven't gone to church since I was like 22. I think I went a couple years ago on Easter to like please my parents.
That's such a Catholic
Yeah,
thing.
but it wasn't like I wanted to be there. I remember I wore a rainbow scarf and I wore
Nice.
rainbow earrings, and I was just like,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
here because I'm forced to be here, but I don't want to be here.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
great.
and it was funny because my like best friend, and he's still one of my best friends, in high school, he's gay, and like he would still come to church with us, and I think that they tried to make him like the token gay person.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I mean got out of the church and really like looked back where I was like, oh my God, they were just like trying to use him to like be like, gay people can come here too, but like we're not
Mhm.
ever gonna accept you. You're just like half there.
I remember that from my childhood. Our
Mhm.
church I went to a vanilla Christian church. But
Vanilla.
we were all like everybody's welcome here, blah blah blah, whatever. But it was like, bring your baggage to the Lord, and so
Yeah.
that we can change you
Right,
and fix
100%,
you.
100%.
I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, and like it's one of those things where they see it obviously like as a sin, and they're like,
Mhm.
okay, well, like everyone's sinners, so just like basically throw that in the pile instead of it being like who you are as a person. And you know, they didn't say anything like terrible or like mean or anything like that, but it's one of those things that you look back and you're like, that was really passive.
Mhm.
And it's not right. And I remember having those conversations in church and like youth group about being gay and how it was wrong. And yeah, I had a conversation recently with someone who is Catholic and gay, and like we're cool, we're friends, and I was just like, well, like, what do you think about this? And he said that he doesn't, when he goes to confession, he doesn't say like, oh, I'm gay. Like when he's in confession, he just says that he like wouldn't that had sex with, like if he had sex before marriage or something like that would be the sin. But I straight up was like, but can gay people get married in the church? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay.
Okay, well then
So
all the
what are
sex
you
is before
talking
marriage.
about? Sex before
Oh
what
my God.
marriage? Which marriage? Because you're not going to be.
Right.
Marriage is a holy sacrament in the Catholic Church, so it's like you can't even do this holy sacrament, which is super important. Where you get married, you cannot get divorced. Like it's one of the holy sacraments. You can't even do that because of who you are as a person. Why do you go to church?
Right.
Why are you there? So there's just so many loopholes.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot to unpack in that. But we're going to get into later a little bit about like there are just some demographics where the Venn diagram overlaps with Christian that I just go, I don't get it. Like, I mean, I get it. I know like there are reasons why gay people may still identify with a religious faith, right? Like I get it.
Mhm.
But in my head, like knowing what I know, having read the Bible like all the way through
Yeah.
multiple times, and knowing how it's used against the queer community, like
I think that
I think I would believe. So if we like fast forward time shift the timeline a little bit, and I were still a believer going through like transition and everything, I would probably have become one of those like, well, I'm a believer, but I'm not a like I believe, but I'm not a religious person. Like I'm not going to church, but I
Right.
believe in God and all of that stuff. You know what I mean?
I think I understand that a little bit more. Where someone could like make something up in their head to be like, okay, I'm like spiritual, but I don't. It's the rules that stress me out. It's the rules that stress me out. You know, I don't follow the rules, so
Yes.
yeah. So so I was Catholic my whole life. I did communion, baptism, confirmation, did all of that. My brother too. My brother doesn't go to church anymore either. We both were at youth group during the same time. We were both super involved in all of that. And like it all fell apart. I was dating someone in the church. Oh, so cute, right?
Well, where else were you going to go?
I wasn't gonna date someone
find
that
someone.
didn't go to church. So yeah, we were dating, and I remember like our youth group leaders were also dating. This could have been a show, and like then they broke up, and like everything fell apart. And
Oh,
like
no.
yeah, it was drama, and I think I started questioning things. Like I was so heartbroken because like this thing that held me together wasn't there anymore. Like my relationship, my friendships, like we weren't going. The youth group had disbanded. They were trying to rebuild it, and my mom would always be like, "Oh, pray." So there's this thing in the Catholic Church where I'm trying to also English Spanish these things. 'Cause I went to church in Spanish. There's a room where like the sacrament is there, like the body. And when you pray in there, apparently it's like God is right there. You are talking to God. Any prayer you say in there. There was even like a book where you could like write. Which also you could like look. That's not.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Listen,
Did I look?
Listen,
Yes.
will you please go back home to church with your family? And I just want one picture. Just take a picture with your phone.
I could try, honestly.
I'm kidding. Don't do that. That's unethical.
No, like
don't do
they
that.
obviously like don't let like it's pin drop silent in there.
Yeah.
Pin drop silent. You're not allowed to speak, breathe, sneeze, like, and so you would go in there and they would say like, okay, this is like the most important room. God is right there. So whatever you ask of him, it will happen here. Did anything that I asked for come true? No. And it's like they treat it like a genie, but then when you ask questions like treating it like a genie, they're like, it doesn't work that way. I'm like,
right.
Okay, but you're telling me that it works like a genie, so I'm gonna treat it like a genie, and then it doesn't work that way.
What about the this is one of my favorites because God can't lose, right? So if you ask God for something and you get it, God wins. Yay, your prayer was answered. If you ask for something and it doesn't come true,
God still wins.
God still wins because he has other plans for you,
better.
or he said later, or whatever. No, sometimes
God
is the right answer.
All your prayers. It just depends what he says. That's what they would say.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts.
I think prayer was the one thing that really made me lose it. Because the other things, like, I don't know, whatever. But prayer made absolutely no sense to me. I remember telling my mom, like, it doesn't make sense. So you're telling me he knows everything. So why am I going to even ask? He knows everything. He knows what's going to happen. And I didn't understand the difference between, like, free will and also having someone, like, plan out my life. Which one is it? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Do you have free will, or are you telling me that you know everything and you have a life planned out for me?
Yeah.
And
God,
I just didn't like that.
Was that a George Carlin bit? He says, God, yeah, it's George Carlin's. God has a plan, and you come along and pray and fuck it all up.
No, that makes sense.
That's a good one.
So yeah, that was the big thing.
So have you heard the shelf analogy?
You can remind me.
Okay, this is big in like Mormon culture.
Oh yeah, no, Hispanic people don't know about that.
God, sure they do. Mormons go on mission trips to. Okay,
we could talk about mission trips.
Oh
yeah,
let me add that to the notes. Yeah. So there's this idea that that like everybody has a shelf, right? And when you come across the thing in your faith upbringing that you're just like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you're taught like don't ask questions, don't dwell on it, whatever. So you come along to prayer and you're like, prayer just doesn't make any sense. Well, you can't ask him about them, and if you do, they're going to give you some bullshit answer anyway. So what you do is you take the prayer thing, you put it up on the shelf. And then you'll come along to some other thing in your faith tradition that doesn't make sense to you, and you'll try to sort through it, and you won't come up with a sufficient answer, and you'll end up putting that up on your shelf too. And eventually, you put so much shit on that shelf that it breaks.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So the idea of, like, what was it that made your shelf break?
That,
like, was it prayer?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, wow, I like that. Yeah, it was prayer. Because I think that people, like, I don't... How to explain, like, there's people that are religious and they're faithful and they're good people, and like, if that helps them, cool. So that stuff didn't bother me because I saw people go through a lot of stuff that the belief helped them in their brain,
right? Which
cool, but it was for me where I'm like, this isn't helping me. I would feel like it was such a chore, and especially in the Catholic Church, you had to memorize prayers. I don't know about other religions. You had to memorize prayers. And I knew them in English and in Spanish. So, like, it was, like, every day.
God can't avoid listening to you.
Yeah, right. I'm coming both languages.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, it was, like, you
Isn't
had to
that
memorize.
Stupid too?
And I remember you had to stand up at certain times. You had to
we didn't see what
I
that's
would be like,
a Catholic
oh, my God,
thing.
this is, like, freaky in here. Like we're all standing.
It's
and
almost like a cult.
It's very culty, and I think that my favorite thing is like, they're like, oh my God, witches and Satan and all this stuff, and it's like, well, you're drinking blood, you're eating a body,
Yes.
you're at an altar. What are you talking about? That's super witchy.
So the church I grew up in, like we did all of the cracker and the little thing of the apple juice or whatever the hell it was, the grape juice.
Grape juice. Wine.
But like our faith tradition taught like this is representative of the body.
Oh, no.
But in the Catholic Church,
It
like
is.
it becomes the body and the blood, and that is the creepiest thing.
I hated it. I
ever.
remember when I did my communion, I was in 3rd grade and I was petrified. I was like, first of all, we're all wearing white dresses as little children, look very culty. And we're like walking through and like, I remember to be like, oh my God, it was right hand. Oh my God, it's coming to me. Right hand over left hand.
Trigger warning,
what
Catholics,
does it matter?
ex-Catholics.
So yeah, right hand,
my God.
right hand over left hand. You had to walk. And then they would give you the body and then you would say amen and take it. And then I would be like, do I have to take it from his hand? Is he going to put it in my mouth? And which hand? Yeah.
That's also really kind of creepy.
Yeah. And
when COVID struck, that was the thing that was like,
gone.
oh, you guys are still doing that.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna touch your
right.
Oh,
But also,
well,
you
no.
would drink from the same goblet.
Yeah,
Everyone would drink from the same goblet, and I would be like, Mom, but germs. And no, the blood of God has
Jesus
no germs.
will save
There's no
you.
germs
Yeah.
there.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, that little white cloth doesn't have germs. What are you talking about? There's germs. I never did. Even when I was older, I never did the blood. I was like, the cracker's fine. I'm good. No, I'm not.
That's why. See, this is why you fell from the faith, because
didn't drink
you
the
weren't
blood.
doing it right.
Yeah, it was disgusting. And I remember one time it was Easter, always. And so we're there, and this old lady, the priest was going to give me the body, and she swiped right in front of me and just took mine. And I was literally like, that was for me. And she just took
That was
it.
my Jesus.
That was my Jesus. Yeah. Sorry, I'll never forget that.
Oh my
I was like,
God.
oh God. And the old ladies in the church, the nuns are so mean. I remember like during our youth group, it's kids. We're gonna be loud and rowdy, and they would be like, shh. And we're like, but we're in youth group. You want us to come here, right? You want us to have fun and be with your friends and like hang out? Okay. So, like, it's not even like mass was going on. It was like Thursday at 8 p.m.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, relax. Yeah, so, and my mom would be like, oh, the nuns, they need to pray. I'm like, Mom, she's mean. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, what about, well, let's talk about leaving religion, and then I want to come back to something else from the doctrine.
Got it. Yeah, it was the whole drama in the youth group that made me leave, and I moved to Orlando, so I wasn't near anyone, and like when I went,
That's exactly how Becca did it too.
Yeah, I moved, and I wasn't near anybody, near anyone that was Catholic, or that I wanted to be near anyone that was Catholic, but you
were like a young person out in the world on your own, and you're like, I don't want to go to church.
But and also you're gonna live for this. So during one of our retreats, we did like this. I can only experience and say like it was a haunted house. So you would you would be like a character in the house, and the new people that were coming in would walk through this haunted house, which was like your life. So you would walk in, and it's like,
this sounds like Jesus camp.
no, it's scary. They had like a fake abortion scene, and then they had like a club, which like you can't go club.
No.
Please. Dancing, apparently. You can't dance here. Footloose. So it was like dance. It was like a club scene. I remember it was like an abortion scene. Then it was like a scene where like parents were arguing. So we had to act it out. I mean, acting out was fun because like I'm always acting. So yes, I live for that. But like it was, I think, again, also going back, traumatic, but very traumatic. So you would live in fear of like doing anything wrong.
Like what age kids are going through? Who are we sending through this house?
So the retreats were divided into like high schooler and then the younger kids weren't going through that, or they were maybe going through one not intense.
As right.
The teenagers and stuff, yeah, for sure. Like they were going through it all. And of course, like, it was a mess. And so that was, I remember like coming to the college program and being like, I want to have friends. I want to go out clubbing. And like, honestly, like I've lived a pretty normal life in the way that Like, I'm not doing anything crazy. Like, yes, I go clubbing with my friends. Yes, I honestly did not drink until I was 21 because of me, not because of like anyone telling me like, oh, okay. So I think that fear of like, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't do that, blah blah blah. I came here and I was like, I just want to do whatever I want, and I'm still living in this. I just want to do whatever I want, and it's great. And I honestly like don't miss it at all. At first, I thought it was only a phase, and I would eventually go back to the church, and then I just never went back, and it's been wonderful. And I remember the last time I went to church when I was at Easter, it was when Notre Dame was on fire.
Uh-huh.
And I remember talking to my parents, like, why are we mourning a building? And they were like, the Church of Notre Dame. And I was like, the Catholic Church is like the most, like the richest. And
Right.
they have enough money. Like, it's fine. No one died. It's like, they were like rolling that I like even said this. And then we also found out that same weekend that Holy Land, you could check, but I looked up that Holy Land is tax exempt. And that's an amusement park.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is ridiculous. You guys are all, this is a scam.
Yep.
This is all a scam.
We covered on the other show, they were selling out again, or like they had filed for bankruptcy again or something. I don't know, it's gone through a whole bunch of different.
My parents have gone. I've never gone. I'm like, go have fun with that.
Right.
But yeah, I think I started figuring out this is a scam.
New fundraiser idea. So the big draw to Holy Land is like you can go eat lunch with Jesus or whatever.
Yeah.
But one of our directors, Keith,
yes,
dresses up like Jesus.
Love that.
And he will take any
God,
reason to dress up like Jesus. So that's a great fundraiser idea. Oh my gosh. When we can get together again in post-COVID times, then we'll do that. Okay, so we're talking about leaving religion. And right before we started the show, Jennifer says, if my mom knew we were doing this, she would kill me.
Yeah, I think that if she knew that I was talking to an atheist person, that I was friends with an atheist person, that I was on a show.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my Lanta. I was saying, I think that she probably prays every Sunday that my brother and I will go back to the church. And
how do you identify yourself? Or do you?
I would say like agnostic, I guess. Like I don't know. And I think that like no one knows anything, and I'm just vibing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think anyone can do whatever they want, and I'm not here to tell you anything. And I was watching this TikTok earlier, and there was this girl that was looking at the Bible. I don't know how I got into this hole, but she was like, oh, I want to know in the Bible where it says that we have to respect other people's religions. And I was like, okay, where's this going? So I went to the next TikTok, and people were commenting like, oh, respect thy neighbor and love thy neighbor. And then she was like, well, if I loved you, I wouldn't lie to you. I have to tell you the good news, and I have to tell you that God is coming, and you have to repent yourself, blah, blah, blah. And that's the moment where my brain fried, and I was like, oh, no. Like, this is just... I felt hopeless at that point. I was just kind of like, I don't know. Some people are just never going to change, and they don't think they're being disrespectful. They think they're saving. They think they're spreading the good news, as they say. So
Emily says in the chat, as a college student who doesn't fit in, I understand wanting to have friends and go out. It's difficult making friends as an atheist. Yeah, that's for sure. When you live in a highly religious
if you live in a highly religious area, I totally get that. Especially at 15, I was definitely in the church, like living my life. I can't identify with that because I'm 29 now. And it wasn't until like my mid-20s that I was like, I don't. And I like all of my friends are like me. We're just kind of like, we don't belong to anything. So that's why we all like got along. And we talk about things openly. Yes, do I have friends that are Catholic? Of course. I like any religion. I don't care. And like I could talk about it. I think that's the cool thing that you can just like talk about it with anyone. But I think now it might be easier like than the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's getting easier, I think.
To be like you.
It's getting easier.
And still got a long way to go. But
Emily grew up in a non-religious house. She says, I couldn't imagine growing up in a religious household and how difficult that is to have to hide that from family. I've been an atheist my whole life, and it's crazy growing up in the complete opposite as everyone else around me. So,
I see.
Yeah, like imagine having been a non-believer your entire life, living in like religion central.
I think that sucks, and I'm sure they would like shaming.
So you haven't like had a conversation with your family about?
I don't talk to my parents for other reasons, but this obviously like
Okay.
adds to it. I haven't talked to my parents like this entire year,
Wow.
because of this, because of the things going on in the world right now,
Mhm.
and the political landscape, and just like then like personal things, but they
It's
wouldn't understand.
it really sucks because like we've said this a million times, as a parent, the unconditional love that is preached about Christianity is the unconditional love that I have
hmm
for my
hmm
kids.
hmm
Like I cannot imagine them believing something differently or think like I can't. I'm trying to think of like you killed a man as the limit of what I
Yeah.
would turn my back on a kid for.
Right.
Like I just don't. I can't get there.
It's
And
supposed to be
yet,
unconditional.
yeah, and yet Christianity specifically puts all kinds of conditions on love. It puts conditions on God's love.
A
It puts
lot.
conditions on your love to each other. Like,
Yeah. Like I'm sure that if I wanted to talk to them now, they'd be fine. I mean, not knowing this, but be fine. But yeah, I personally.
Ma, listen, I've got to take a picture.
My mom went to a Catholic school with
Oh,
nuns.
boy.
It's not going anywhere. And like, yeah, I just don't find anything in common with them, because I'm not trying to stop them from being Catholic at all, because
Sure.
that's never going to happen. I think that I just want to have a normal relationship with them and talk to them about things. And my brother said like a super interesting thing the other day, because my parents were asking him like, where did you get all these socialist ideas? My brother's like, Jesus, like what? Like you guys have read
Feed
this
people
all wrong.
and,
Feed them, like
Clothe it,
unconditional
yeah.
love,
Sell all your
clothing.
shit.
Right?
Yeah,
like
right.
Jesus was not hanging out with rich people.
Oh,
He was
God.
hanging out with the poor people and the criminals and the diseased and all those. So it's like, yeah, like you guys got this all wrong. This gospel of hard work, you get everything with hard work. Where did you all get this?
And that's such a deeply American
Oh,
thing,
God.
too. That's frustrating for me. Yeah. But I also think, like, digging into the details of, like, that doctrinal stuff of, like, no, but Jesus was this and Jesus. If Jesus wasn't real, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe to them, like,
Yeah.
maybe there's a good argument there to them and be like, look, maybe you could be a better, I'm not trying to take it away from you, but maybe you could just be a better Christian. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
yeah.
if those arguments work or not. I don't engage in them anymore, basically.
My brother is the one, he's the level-headed one. My brother's 3 years younger than I am. He's the level-headed one, and he can talk to my parents. My brother went to school for international relations, criminal justice, political science. He's in law school. My brother's a brain, so he can definitely talk to my parents with facts. I just get very emotional. I'm like, "Nah." So I don't have those familial conversations
Uh-huh.
with them. Yeah, and my parents are Catholic. My aunt, I have some family that are Christian, which the divide there is also shady, super shady, because
Mhm.
I remember my mom as a child growing up being like, the Catholic Church is like Harvard and the Christian Church is like the community college.
Oh, shit.
Isn't that shady?
That is shady.
I was like, Mom,
Damn.
well, the Catholic Church is never wrong. I'm like, the Catholic Church has always been wrong
Always wrong.
forever in the entire history of the world.
We rape kids. We're not going to admit to it.
They didn't.
We're not
They
going
they
to
didn't.
take care of it. We're not going to get rid of these people. We're always,
The
we're always
Inquisition, slavery. They were like, you can have slaves, you can't whip them, but you can have them.
wrong. Okay, that's a good segue. Let's take
Mhm.
that jumping off point
Mhm.
and go to, in the same way that it just boggles my mind that there are gay Christians,
Yeah.
or even like the idea that the Bible talks about women being subservient to men and you can't speak in church and all this bullshit, right? Like I don't if
It's super nasty. Yeah, like
anyway, I know the answer is indoctrination. I know that.
yeah.
Okay, so now we shift to the cultural religious identities and how ingrained that is. And I know I had a conversation with God, I don't remember when. I know I talked to Nikki from the Unapologetics podcast about this, but that was ages ago. And I almost feel like it's I don't know, like the question is, I don't know the word for it, but the question is like, it's hard for me to understand for Hispanic communities in the same way that I boggle my mind about Black communities, of knowing the history of your people and how that religion was brought to you.
I don't think they think
How
about that.
are you so
Right.
beholden to it? And how would, I guess you have to, I guess I mean, I don't know, you can tell me what you think, but like your mind has to be open enough to hear it, I guess, first, right? If somebody were to come to you and say, you know, if you were to learn in some way like that, oh, this is why we believe what we believe, and our ancestors actually believed this other thing, I guess you just like have to be in a position to be willing to process that, and most people aren't, I guess. I
I
don't know.
think that, yeah, colonialism.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And mission trips to this day are still colonialism, and it's ridiculous.
Mhm.
I never went on one. My parents have gone to Guatemala a couple times. Now, I don't know what happens on these trips. They tell me that they're already working with like a Catholic priest there, and they have a Catholic community. I don't know if they're going out there like spreading it and like adding people. I don't know, so I
Right.
can't speak. But yeah, I just feel like also a lot of people go across the seas or anywhere.
That's a really good point. I had an aha
Yeah.
moment. That's a really good point, because I'm thinking of it in historical terms
No,
of like,
current too.
yeah, no,
100%.
yeah, absolutely. And I my head wasn't there. I was thinking of the Inquisition, and you know,
Oh, it still happens now. There's just
Yeah,
like
God,
not
you're so
killing
right.
them. Like they're still doing it now, and
Yeah.
especially impoverished people that have nothing. They want to have something to hold on to, and they tell them like Jesus and all this stuff like is gonna help you, and then that's how.
Listen,
they get
Kathy
people.
might get mad at me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So we have the It Takes a Village program,
Mhm.
where we deliver food to people who are food insecure and having trouble, particularly people who have difficulty getting to a food pantry location or that sort of thing, right?
Mhm.
That's the idea. There was somebody posted in some group and screenshots got sent, but basically it was like there was another food location somebody posted about, and the comment was, there is an hour of service before they give the food, but it's well worth it. And that's here in Polk County.
No, you see.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then the response was like, "Hey, sorry, and this isn't our group. This is an affiliated group. I'm sorry, but we can't advertise food pantries with stipulations attached." Mentioned it before, and the person was upset that he felt he was held prisoner for an hour.
Oh.
I explained to him that if he was in need, it was worth it. It is never. Listen to me right now.
No.
Sit down. Pay attention. It is never worth it to be forced to sit through a religious programming session for an hour to get food.
Oh my God.
And that's why when we created It Takes a Village, it's all of these, like I call us the merry little band of misfits, all of these organizations that nobody wants to work with any other way, Planned Parenthood and the Atheists and the Unitarian Universalists and all these groups that come together to do this thing. And from the start, our mission statement was feed first, ask questions later.
I love that.
I'm not even really concerned with whether you can get to another food pantry or not. Even if you could drive to all of them, you probably still don't have enough freaking food. Let's just give people food.
Yeah.
Anyway, that drives me
wonderful.
nuts.
Mhm.
And that is a huge problem in when we refuse to let government run the social services. And if government were running the social services, they would have to follow under the Civil Rights Acts,
Yeah.
and non-discrimination ordinances, right? But because we as a society, we as a culture have said, nah, we don't want the government to take care of that. Let's leave it to the churches and the charities. Because we've done that, now you have religious institutions who are taking care of the people who need all of us.
Yeah.
And saying, yes, sure, you can eat, but first you have to pray with me or do an hour of Bible study or whatever. And that just feels creepy.
I know, I'm like, ugh.
And taking advantage of people at their weakest hour. How dare you?
Yeah, they're like, oh,
Sorry,
but we will change
But
you.
see, you mentioned this earlier. They feel like they're doing the good thing. I'm helping bring people to Christ.
Yeah,
That's the good thing.
My brother said that the Catholic Church is an MLM, and
Yeah.
there it is.
And
because
there
it is. They just grab people. It's money. Because I remember when I used to go to church, they would pass the donation basket twice.
Wow.
Twice. For why? Once, okay, cool, and then twice. And like I remember when I got older, my mom would tell me like it was part of her budget every week to like give to the church, so she would know, she would have her cash in the envelope ready.
Yeah.
And it was they would pass the basket two times, and I would also be like, why do they need this money? Like I would be like, for what?
Have you seen the Vatican?
Yeah, okay, no, but like my little church in Miami, you know. Of course.
It all goes to the Vatican.
Okay, but like, think about this. My brother's been to the Vatican, and he's like, that place is gold lined. It's like, where do you think they got that gold? Colonialism.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, we were talking about that. We were talking about the. I don't know where you left off because we got sidetracked into another. This is what it was like to work together.
Yeah, we would be like, hours later.
So
just leaving a church, and we were. Oh, I was talking about the crazy haunted house, and
just the cultural association with religion.
Yeah. So as we already like said, it was definitely like brought to South America. My ancestors were not like great ancestors were not Catholic. So yeah, they're now, and they don't see it that way. And I think also.
I wonder if challenged. I wonder if these people were challenged with this is what your ancestors did believe before colonialism happened.
Oh.
Right? The cognitive dissonance that they might experience, maybe not. Like I'd be interested to dig into people's brains and see those things. Like I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, do you try to justify that off by saying, well, my ancestors were just wrong, and thank goodness those people came and brought us Jesus?
So I remember I would bring this up to my mom all the time. I'm like, but like, what about those people? You know, there's those villages in the Amazon that have never seen society. They live there, I hope those.
My favorite.
I hope they are thriving.
My favorite is that island. I can't think of the name of it. Where every once in a while, a Christian missionary will show up and they'll just fill them full of arrows.
Yeah, and then I honestly love them.
Leave them alone.
I hope that they're thriving. This is a love note to those people.
Yep.
Continue doing you. But yeah, so I remember I would be like, but Mom, what if there's some little boy in a village and like he doesn't know about Jesus and how he's gonna get to heaven? And they would always be stumped on that, like, oh, someone's gonna come and save them, or like, I don't know. And it's just like, what?
And then you take it and you put it on the shelf.
Yeah,
like that's not a satisfactory answer. We gotta put it on the shelf. Yeah,
that was a shelf thing.
Damn.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things where I'm like. But also, like, have you never taken like a world history class, like a world religion class?
Many of them know. Many want to like they should all be in private religious schools.
Okay, so my mom wanted to put my brother and I in a private Catholic school, but we didn't have the money. So I just went to public school, which I mean, like, fine.
Right.
But my God, I would have been a completely different person.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, my mom. Her dream, she would always say to him, I want to put you in a Catholic school, because there was this Catholic school right by our house, and every time we drive by, yo te quería poner ahí, I wanted to put you there, and I was like, ugh. Like I never wanted to go to Catholic school, even when I was Catholic. I'm like,
why would I want to do the shit I gotta do all day on Sunday? I gotta do every day.
My brother goes, you know, your mom has spent more time at church than she has in school. If you think about it like that, and I was like,
oh my God.
You're right. My brother's like, these people have spent more time at church than they have in school. Right? Boom. My brother, genius boy. Yeah. And I was like, you're so right. And like, my mom moved here when she was at college age, 20s. She went to the same college I did. And my dad came here in high school. So they were still pretty young. They've lived here probably longer than they ever did in Venezuela. But they didn't take a American history class or American government or American like civics or like
Mhm.
anything. They don't know how the government here works. So every time I talk to them, they constantly compare it to how Venezuela is, and I'm like, listen, I get that to where you grew up, but you live here now, and this you need to
Mhm.
be on top of the issues here in America, because what's going on with you now, and your family is here. You're trying to assimilate here, so like you need to what's going on with you here in this country, because they're constantly like, pero en Venezuela, and I'm like, but I was born here.
Right.
And I remember I got into a huge argument with my aunt on 4th of July because I didn't want to celebrate, and she was very upset. And she was like, you need to go back to Venezuela. I was like, I was born here. Like, I don't think you remember.
There's no going back.
And there's no going back. I've been there like twice.
Right.
Like, I don't know Venezuela like that. Like, I know from what my parents have told me, and like I have family that live there. And like, it's not great. I know that. But like, that also goes into the fact that like, socialism is a trigger word for them. Communism
Right.
is a trigger word for them. I completely understand that, because they have seen their country ripped apart, and like they cannot see that like that cannot happen here, because like we have a constitution and we have things in place that Venezuela didn't have, that sort of like,
Right.
standing ground, stepping off point. And it's very corrupt. So that also is a cultural thing of like the way that they see the world, because they came here and all they know is hard work, and all they know is having 3 jobs, and that's all they know. And
Mhm.
my brother's like telling my dad, like,
Nobody should have to work 3
right, my
jobs.
dad, right. My brother's like, Dad, you've had 3 jobs. My parents are the hardest working people I know. Yet you are like lower middle class. Why
Yes.
is that?
Yep.
Why is that? Like, you preach this hard work, prophecy, gospel thing, and it's like it obviously
where has
doesn't
it gotten
work,
you?
because
Right.
you're 2 steps away from, you're closer to being homeless than you are to being any sort of rich. So it just like doesn't make sense to me, and it's all comes together. It all comes together, and a lot of people think that like Hispanic people aren't like that. They are.
Yeah.
They are.
2 more topics,
Mhm.
and then I think we'll switch gears to the other show. Purity culture.
um.
Did you notice like the lessons that you learned in your faith tradition growing up affecting your adult life in
Yeah.
regards to like relationships and sex and all of that
Yeah,
stuff?
so we never wore like purity rings or any stuff like that. Um, I think if they knew about those, they'd want to do them, but I don't think they were like that hip to do purity rings.
Wasn't that a Jonas Brothers thing?
I love the Jonas Brothers. They definitely
God.
had purity rings, but they were like, this was
Now look,
fake.
this was long ago before Jonas Brothers too. Like that was
Right,
a revival of the rings. But
right,
when
right.
when I was a kid, that was a thing too.
They
Anyway.
they definitely revived the purity ring.
Okay, so anyway,
No, I didn't have one, and it wasn't something that they like said, oh, you need to have purity ring. Could you have sex before marriage? No.
no.
And so I lost my virginity at 23, okay? And that definitely had a like reason why, because I was like, oh my God, I can't. And then as I got older, I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I was like, we're still putting sexuality in men's hands. Like, I should be able to lose my virginity whenever I want and with whomever
And you're
I
not
want.
losing anything.
Right.
That's the other
However,
thing.
yeah.
Just the language that we use to
That's
talk
true.
about it is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember being like, this is crazy, because like we should be able to express ourselves however we want,
Yeah.
and especially with our bodies and stuff. And like they were very like, no, this is bad. You can only do this with your husband, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, like I need to know beforehand when I'm getting into here. Like, what? And I remember my mom being like, you can't move out of the house until you're like married, until you're
Oh my God.
Which I laughed so hard in her face. I was like, I'm leaving. At 18, I left. I was like, I'm leaving. And I mean, I've never lived with a man before. That sounds like a terrible time. But yeah, like I've always had like roommates or
Yeah,
friends.
kinda.
Yeah. So I don't know what that's like, but yeah, they were definitely like, you can't. But I know for a fact my mom didn't wait. Like, she never said anything, but I'm like, And like, sort of the same thing with like abortion. Like, I know people in my family who've had them and then still are pro-life.
Right.
Because it's like, but the hypocrisy. I don't understand. Like, I'm saying, like, you might, like, you might regret it and it might have been the worst decision of your life.
Right.
That's for you.
Yep.
But, like, you had the choice.
Yeah.
You had the choice to make. And that's what we're trying to say here. So that's a whole nother thing, too.
Well, this ties into, again, to like the atheist community's mission and vision, and like the things that we have taken on that are issues that are important to us. Comprehensive sex ed is one of them that's on top of the list. You will no doubt be unsurprised to hear that Polk County does not teach a very comprehensive, progressive sex ed curriculum.
Yeah.
It is pretty much abstinence only, and that'll get you through. And what's crazy is that it boggles my mind that like withholding knowledge from children, withholding knowledge from people has never had a net positive outcome.
No.
Never.
No.
We know this.
Yeah.
And so we know that, and it was about this time last year, I was invited to a faith leaders forum to be the non-religious participant. This was some of the stuff we were talking about. And I'm like, I just don't understand how y'all don't see, like, if you arm children with the knowledge, if you give them the information that they need, then they will be successful in the future. They'll make better decisions because they're going to know how it all works, and they're going to know. It's not just here. When I was a kid, my uncle was the PE teacher slash health teacher. And it was like, okay, kids, it's time to put on the slides of all the scary diseases you're going to get, right?
Oh God, you're
awkward.
I would be, I'd be
yeah,
like, oh.
It was great. But that's what it was. It was like, here, look at all the scary shit that's going to happen to you if you ever have sex. Okay, great. And you're supposed to save yourself till marriage and all of that. Now I'm married. Now what? And then it's like all of this. There's all of this buildup and expectation and not knowing how any of these things function and work or are supposed to work alone, let alone together. And like, you're just setting people up for failure.
Yeah. I remember my mom. Okay, so I think it was one trip we went to the Keys, and I started my period, and my aunt had a tampon, and my mom was like, "No, she can't use a tampon." Oh my God! And I was like, "Why not?" I had never used one at that moment, but I was just like, "Why not? Like, why can't I just? This is the first day I tried today." My mom was like, "She cannot wear a tampon," and I was like, okay, like I never questioned it because I was like, what's going on? They really think you're going to lose your virginity from a tampon.
That's
it's
so
psychotic.
Stupid.
And I was like, okay, like I dropped it. It wasn't until I was older where I was like, oh my God, she really thought I was going to like break my hymen and not be a virgin by wearing a tampon. That's craziness.
So
I solely wear, like, I
also
solely wear
the science behind how hymens work.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
What? Yeah. So they thought that, and like, it was. Yeah. So and the thing is, I know people have had it worse. Like I feel like I have a mild story.
Yeah.
And it's still crazy, and there's so many people that are in actual cults and like have actually been hurt. So like that's crazy. But yeah, I remember I couldn't wear tampons, and it was just like a lot of oh, yeah, I never even went to the gyno until I was old enough to go by myself, because my mom's like, you're a virgin, why do you need to go? I'm like,
that's not why you go. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I went to the gyno till like the first time I moved to Orlando, and I was like, I need to make like my yearly things and like get these things done for women's health.
And they're like, when was the last time that you
I was like, this is the first time. They're like, this is the first time. I'm like, my mom never brought me. Like, how great would it have been to bring your daughter to have a bonding moment?
Yes.
Like, really just take them like, this is your body. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to learn. It was just no.
Would you, do you think, this is this is not a very scientific exploration of this topic, but do you think, had you had experiences like that growing up, that you would feel more comfortable if an issue came up now to go to your mom?
100%. That is just one example of the reasons why I don't talk to my mom. Like, there was such a big hiding everything. That's why my brother and I, they hide everything, and it's a lot to do with religion, a lot to do with the culture. Like they hide everything, so I'm not comfortable coming to my mom with anything now, and like it's like your fault. But yeah, it's I think that my aunt, on the other hand, was super open about it. She's like told me everything. So anytime I had a question, I was always go to her and be like, "This happened to me. Oh my god!" Like, you know. So I think that you should be open with your kids and really like get them in on everything, because I did not know a lot of things growing. I really could not watch PG-13 movies till I was 13.
That's a lot of kids that grew up in like super strict households
Very
like that.
strict.
My sister is married to a preacher.
Yeah.
And they would like, regardless of the rating, they would go see the movie first.
Oh my Lanta.
Without
Who
the
has
kids.
time?
Yeah, I know, right? I secretly think that's just because they wanted to be able to go see movies without their kids.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
they would go see it before they would take their kids to, anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, let's cut the show here and we'll go do the other show because we can
Yay.
talk about more stuff on it. But this has been a really good exploration of
it was really fun.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you want to take away from this? Like, I think the idea of like be open and honest with your kids and like expose them to education.
Mhm.
Like,
there needs to be more actual education, more science, like more of these facts. And I think that you shouldn't like impose these things on your kids. Like, if your kids want to be religious, that's cool. But like this exploded in my parents' faces because like now my brother and I are not.
Sometimes when you push too hard, you push them away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want kids, but like I think people with kids or that want kids, I think that like being open with them and like not having to be like, these topics, you can't talk about them. It's not.
I hope we're doing the right thing. I wish, I feel like we are.
Yeah.
I wish that I had more time to do like explorations into religion with my kids.
Yeah.
Like I would love to sit down and go, okay, now we're going to learn about Zeus. And now we're going to learn about Thor. And now we're going to learn about Ra. And now like all different
your kids would love
traditions and everything. And like, because I guess it'd be like a homeschool version of world religions, right?
Yeah.
But like when you see other people's batshit crazy stuff stacked up next to your batshit crazy stuff, it makes you think a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
For some people, I guess. For other people I've heard have been in those classes and been like, oh, I'm sure glad I don't believe in that crazy bullshit. You know, like my crazy bullshit's okay.
Yeah.
Mine's the right one.
But
anyway, again, like exposing kids to more knowledge is never the wrong thing to do. So, anyway. All right, so let's wrap up the show here. Thank you so much for doing this.
Having me.
Come on the show anytime.
Anytime.
You're welcome. Welcome to come back anytime. And we'll wrap up here to remind you that you can get this show on YouTube and Facebook video. I think we were having some video lag glitches or something today. I don't know why. It's really freaking annoying. And but anyway, we got through it, and it'll be recorded, and it'll go up, and it'll be fine. Nobody will notice. You can get this on most podcast players. Search for the show in your favorite app of choice, or you can go to our website and find the subscribe links. As always, you can find out all about the ACPC or make a donation at polkatheists.org, and follow us at polkatheists on all the social media. And my many thanks again to Jennifer Martinez for joining us on the show. Now, everybody remember the 3 most important things. You don't know what these are because you don't watch my show. Don't touch anything. Wash your hands. And wear your mask.
Got it.
Be safe, everybody. We'll see you on the next Freethought in Florida.